never meant to be haunted. It was just a television prop built for laughs, chases, and those impossible jumps that made kids everywhere hold their breath. But somewhere between the dust of Georgia backroads and the roar of its V8, the General Lee stopped being just a car. It became something else, something alive. Painted in rebellious orange, crowned with the flag that sparked endless debate, the 1969 Dodge Charger known as the General Lee became a symbol of freedom, danger, and chaos. But behind that blinding paint and its famous Dixie horn hides a history darker than anyone expected. Why did hundreds of these cars vanish without a trace after filming? Why do collectors still whisper about strange sounds coming from restored models? And what terrifying message appeared on the windshield of the final General Lee ever built? Today, we'll dig into the dirt, literally and figuratively, to uncover the truth that Warner Brothers never dared to explain. These are 20 weird facts about the General Lee that will forever change the way you see television's most infamous car. Number 20. The Graveyard of Orange Steel. They said Hollywood magic could make anything disappear, but few knew that it wasn't just camera tricks that buried the General Lee's past. Deep in Georgia, there's a secret field locals call the morgue. During the 7-year run of the Dukes of Hazzard, so many Dodge Chargers were wrecked that Warner Brothers quietly began disposing of them by the truckload. Residents near Covington still remember the rumble of engines at night, flatbeds arriving under the cover of darkness, dumping crushed orange bodies into massive pits. Over 300 cars met their end there, stacked like metallic tombstones of a forgotten war. Years later, treasure hunters with metal detectors uncovered scattered parts, hoods, badges, and fragments of the 01 door numbers. Some collectors even claim to own relics dug from the soil, pieces still stained with studio paint. Warner Brothers has never admitted its existence, but aerial photos reveal strange orange patches where grass refuses to grow. Number 19. The horn that drove everyone mad. Everyone remembers that cheerful Dixie horn, the sound that made the General Lee instantly recognizable. But on set, that same melody was pure torment. The original horn setup was so loud it could be heard over 3 miles away. Police records from Covington confirmed dozens of complaints filed during night shoots. Actor John Schneider later admitted he suffered partial hearing loss after standing too close when the horn was triggered. The sound team experimented with over 40 variations, one of which shattered the windshield of a camera car during testing. Crew members joked that they could feel the horn in their bones. Others stopped laughing when they began dreaming about it. Nightmares of the Dixie tune echoing endlessly. Eventually, production limited its use to key moments only. But even today, some restored General Lees reportedly blare the horn at random without a driver's touch, as if the car itself still remembers the rhythm that once drove everyone mad. Number 18. The Underground Charger Circuit. Before the Dukes of Hazzard ever aired, whispers of an underground racing circuit began spreading across the American South. Starting in 1977, 2 years before the show debuted, drivers gathered at abandoned airstrips to race Dodge Chargers painted bright orange, complete with 01 decals and even homemade Dixie horns. No one knew who started it, but the resemblance to what would later become the General Lee was uncanny. Some conspiracy theorists believe the show's creators may have borrowed the idea from this secret league. At least 15 drivers participated, racing for pink slips in brutal high-speed contests that sometimes ended in fire. When the Dukes of Hazzard premiered, those racers found themselves driving cars identical to a television superstar. Some sold their machines for big profits. Others disappeared underground, fearing lawsuits. The league eventually ended in tragedy. A fatal crash in 1985 brought police intervention and sealed its existence forever. But to this day, collectors still hunt for those outlaw Chargers that started it all. Number 17. The Toxic Orange Paint. That vivid hemi-orange glow wasn't just a visual trademark, it was a chemical hazard. The paint formula used during the late 1970s contained lead and methyl isobutyl ketone, compounds later banned by the EPA. Crew painters working 12-hour shifts inside poorly ventilated warehouses began suffering headaches, nausea, and even hallucinations. One painter who worked on over 50 General Lees developed permanent nerve damage and sued Warner Brothers in 1987. The case was settled quietly, but insiders whispered about the paint that glowed too bright to be safe. Ironically, those forbidden chemicals gave the car its iconic glow. No modern formula can fully replicate that luminous orange on camera. Today, collectors pay up to $5,000 a gallon for leftover vintage stock, despite EPA warnings. Restoration experts wear hazmat suits just to touch it. The same color that made the General Lee immortal also poisoned the hands that created it. A cruel reminder that every legend has its price. Number 16. The stunt driver who vanished. Craig Baxley was one of the best stunt drivers in Hollywood, a man who could make 2 tons of steel fly like a bird. He'd performed dozens of the most jaw-dropping General Lee jumps ever filmed. Then, one Monday morning in March 1982, he vanished. Not quit, not fired, simply gone. His Dodge Charger was found in the studio parking lot, keys still in the ignition. His hotel room was untouched, clothes neatly folded, wallet on the table. At first, the crew laughed, assuming he was pulling another stunt. But when 3 days passed with no sign of him, they called the police. Months later, a burnt orange General Lee turned up abandoned in the Nevada desert, the same car Baxley had last driven. Inside lay a single note scrawled on the dashboard. The jumps were real. His handwriting was never confirmed. Some say he fled Hollywood. Others believe he didn't leave at all, only that the car kept jumping, even without him. Number 15. The cursed engine block. General Lee number 17 was unlike any other car in the fleet. Its heart, the engine block, came from a wrecked police interceptor involved in a fatal chase back in 1971. At first, it was just another donor part, but soon after installation, drivers began reporting something terrifying. The car would accelerate on its own. Mechanics tore it apart repeatedly, finding nothing wrong. Yet every time during routine takes, the Charger lunged forward as if possessed. 3 stunt drivers refused to touch it. Actor Tom Wopat nicknamed it the Devil Car after it nearly plunged off a cliff during a mild hill run. Sound engineers claimed their microphones picked up strange bursts of static whenever number 17 was idling, static that sounded eerily like distorted police chatter. In 1983, after injuring a crew member in a freak accident, the car caught fire overnight inside the studio lot. Security cameras malfunctioned at that exact moment. By morning, nothing remained but ash, and the engine block blackened yet perfectly intact. Number 14. The jump that erased time. On September 14, 1981, the crew gathered for a routine stunt, another perfect jump over a creek outside Covington. Veteran driver Jack Gill lined up the General Lee, hit the ramp at precisely 47 miles per hour, and soared into the sky. Everything looked flawless until it didn't. For 4.7 seconds, the car simply vanished. The film showed the Charger rising, and then nothing. Empty sky. No car. When it reappeared, it landed perfectly as though nothing had happened. The director shouted, "Cut!" and demanded playback. Every camera, 3 angles synchronized, showed the same anomaly. 4 seconds missing from reality itself. Jack Gill emerged pale and trembling. He said that while airborne, everything went black. No sound, no sensation, no motion, just void. Experts later examined the footage frame by frame, but found no technical error. The negative was ordered destroyed, but rumor says one assistant editor smuggled out a copy. Bootleg fragments still circulate, showing a jump that quite literally erased time. Number 13. The car that refused to be orange. In 1980, Warner Brothers acquired what seemed like the perfect donor car, a pristine black 1969 Dodge Charger destined to become the next General Lee. But when the crew tried painting it Hemi orange, the paint peeled off overnight. They sanded it, repainted, and again by morning the surface shed its color in sheets, revealing untouched black beneath. Different painters tried, different primers, techniques, even brands. Same result. It was as if the car rejected the transformation itself. After 2 weeks of failed attempts, a production assistant traced its VIN and discovered it once belonged to a Mississippi Sheriff's Department. The car's last driver, Sheriff Buford Justice, the real-life inspiration for Jackie Gleason's character in Smokey and the Bandit. Superstition spread fast. Crew members joked the car still worked for the law. Eventually, they gave up and sold it. The new owner repainted it blue without issue, but decades later, every attempt to coat it orange again ended the same way, peeling overnight as if the Charger simply refused to become a General Lee. Number 12. The Invisible Crash. By season 3, actor John Schneider insisted on doing more of his own stunts. He wanted authenticity, not camera doubles. One afternoon, he attempted a simple slide maneuver, just parked the General Lee sideways into a marked spot. Something went horribly wrong. As cameras rolled, the Charger suddenly shot forward at nearly 70 miles per hour. Crew members screamed as it headed straight for a concrete barrier. But what the cameras captured was ordinary. On film, the car glided smoothly into its parking place. No impact, no damage. Yet every witness swore they saw it crash. Schneider himself claimed that in that moment, time seemed to freeze, and the car moved through syrup, heavy and slow. When the film was reviewed, nothing unusual appeared. No scratches, no distortion. The barrier was perfectly intact. Schneider never performed another driving stunt again. Later, he told friends, "Something saved me that day, but it wasn't luck." Number 11. The Lost Tape from 1976. In 1997, a film student bought a wrecked General Lee from a Tennessee salvage yard. Hidden behind the dashboard, he found an old CB radio, wired to record continuously on a loop tape. When he played it, his blood ran cold. The tape held hours of conversations between unidentified voices discussing detailed episode plots, stunts, and casting decisions. Dated 1976, 3 years before the Dukes of Hazzard even existed. One voice described accidents that hadn't happened yet, including a fatal on-set incident in 1984. The audio was authenticated as recorded in the mid-70s. Experts found no tampering. Then the tape vanished. The student claimed federal agents arrived at his apartment, confiscated it, and left no paperwork. The FBI officially denies the event. But some who heard the recording say one of the voices mentioned Phase 2 of consciousness transfer experiments. That line never appeared in any script, but its echo would resurface years later, tied to an even stranger event involving the General Lee. Number 10. The Car That Spoke in Morse Code. By season 4, the production team had rebuilt dozens of cars using leftover parts from wrecked General Lees. But car 443 was different. It had been assembled from the remains of 3 destroyed Chargers, welded together in a hurry to meet filming deadlines. That's when strange things began. Security guards reported the car starting itself in the middle of the night. Footage showed the ignition turning with no key inserted, always at exactly 3:17 a.m. The car would idle for a few minutes, then shut off on its own. One night, while filming, the headlights began flashing rapidly. When decoded, they formed Morse code. The message was simple: "Help me." The car was removed from the set immediately and sold to a private collector. In 1991, it burned in a mysterious garage fire. Investigators called it spontaneous combustion. Yet locals swore they saw the headlights flashing one last time, right before the flames consumed it. Number 9. The Stretching Charger Incident. August 3, 1983, the crew was filming a cannon roll, a stunt where the car flips through the air. At 47 miles per hour, the General Lee hit the ramp, rolled, and something impossible happened. Witnesses described the car stretching, elongating midair like molten metal. For 2 seconds, they saw multiple overlapping shapes, 6 identical General Lees occupying different points of rotation. The sound was described as metal tearing through reality. When the car landed, it was perfectly intact, the stunt driver unhurt, but shaken. The footage was immediately confiscated. Later that day, men claiming to be from the Department of Defense arrived and took every copy, ordering crew silence under threat of legal action. Officially, the stunt was reshot the next day, but according to one camera operator, the moment the original General Lee disappeared, every analog watch on set froze for exactly 2.3 seconds, the same duration the car had stretched. Number 8. The VINs that predicted deaths. In 1984, a die-hard fan named Marcus Webb began cataloging every General Lee vehicle identification number he could find. He soon noticed a pattern that chilled him to the bone. When he converted certain digits from each destroyed car's VIN into letters, they spelled names, real names of people who died in car accidents within 6 months of that particular vehicle's destruction. At first, it sounded like coincidence, but Webb documented 17 confirmed matches. When he tried to warn one man, whose name appeared in a recently scrapped VIN, the man laughed. 4 months later, he died in a crash outside Atlanta. Police got involved, then the FBI. Warner Brothers called it superstition, but behind the scenes, they quietly began choosing new cars with safer VIN combinations. Webb's notes were later confiscated in a mysterious raid on his home. 2 weeks after, he was found dead in his garage from carbon monoxide poisoning. The official report said suicide. His friends said he'd just made a breakthrough. Number 7. The engine that recorded voices. In 2005, mechanic Dale Morrison was restoring a General Lee engine for a collector when he discovered something strange. A sealed metal box embedded inside the block, wired directly into the cylinder heads. Inside was a reel of magnetic tape, heatproof and ancient. When he played it, it sounded like normal engine noise until he slowed it down. There were voices, conversations from the set, arguments, laughter, even confessions, recorded crystal clear from years earlier. But then came something worse. New voices, not from any known crew member, discussing Phase 2 of consciousness transfer experiments. One said, "The subjects are responding to vehicular imprinting." 2 days later, Morrison's workshop was burglarized. Nothing stolen except the device and his computer. 3 months later, he died when a car mysteriously fell from a lift and crushed him. Friends claimed he'd been paranoid, convinced someone was following him. The strange thing? That very engine had been built for car Nr. 23, the one that once flashed, "Help me." Number 6. The Highway 41 phenomenon. There's a lonely stretch of Georgia asphalt locals call Duke's Doom. It's part of Highway 41, a route once used to transport the General Lees between filming locations. Over the years, at least 5 of those cars suffered identical, unexplainable malfunctions there. Radios exploded, windows shattered outward, engines died, and then restarted themselves. It began in 1981 when stunt driver Gary Baxley drove a General Lee through mile marker 66.6. His radio burst into flames. 2 weeks later, another driver's windshield blew out at the exact same spot. By the 4th incident, Warner Brothers rerouted all transports. But brave locals still tested their luck. Every orange car that passed that mile marker reported the same phenomena: electrical surges, sudden pressure drops, and glimpses of figures by the roadside that vanished when approached. The 5th car didn't make it out. Found idling 40 miles away, the driver was missing. A week later, he was discovered wandering in a field, dazed and barefoot, whispering, "It wasn't a road, it was a door." Number 5. The time loop jump. October 13th, 1982. The crew filmed a simple barn jump scene. Routine, easy, something they'd done 100 times. The General Lee soared beautifully, cleared the barn, and landed. But as dust settled, someone shouted, "It's back at the start." The same car, same tire marks, was somehow back in its takeoff position. Then the engine revved again. The General Lee repeated the jump, identical in every frame. The first driver stood beside the director, watching himself drive. For 17 minutes, the scene replayed in real life, each time identical, each time perfectly synchronized. Cameras captured only one jump, but dozens of witnesses swore they saw the loop happen. Actor Catherine Bach later said, "It was like watching a dream replay in real time." After the 17th loop, it stopped. The car vanished mid-air. Minutes later, the original General Lee sat still at the landing spot, engine cold, as if nothing had happened. Number 4. The prophetic car, Dr. 37. General Lee Dr. 37 was known among the crew as the Oracle. After one minor fender bender, the dent on its hood looked eerily like a map of Georgia. 3 weeks later, a tornado followed the exact pattern of that dent. It didn't stop there. In 1983, a scrape on the driver's door formed the numbers 910 on 2001. At the time, no one thought anything of it, until years later, when the date 9/11 burned into history. Every mark, every crack, seemed to predict future tragedies. One shattered windshield mirrored the fault line of the 1989 San Francisco earthquake. Scratches spelling Challenger appeared months before the shuttle disaster. A production photographer began documenting the patterns, building a chilling archive. When Nairobi 37's final body damage resembled the New York skyline, two tall streaks with empty space between, Warner Brothers ordered the car destroyed. Workers at the scrapyard said unmarked trucks arrived at night and hauled it away. The car was never crushed, it simply vanished. Number 3. The consciousness transfer. March 1984, actor James Best, who played Sheriff Roscoe, sat inside a General Lee between takes. Without warning, he began speaking in a flat, mechanical tone, reciting engine specs, transmission ratios, and factory assembly data with inhuman precision. The crew froze. Best had never shown any knowledge of mechanics. For 43 minutes, he described the experience of being metal, mentioning the names of Chrysler workers who assembled that exact car in 1969. When checked, those names were real. During the episode, the car's alternator emitted an electrical pattern matching Best's speech rhythm exactly. 3 more actors reported similar possession events over the next 2 months. Scientists brought in to investigate detected electromagnetic anomalies around certain General Lees, calling them consciousness fields. The research was terminated without explanation. Everyone involved signed lifetime NDAs. Rumor says Warner Brothers quietly labeled those cars Class X and had them sealed away. Number 2. The Twin Car Paradox. June 7th, 1983, production chaos erupted when 2 different filming units, 37 miles apart, called in to report they both had General Lee number 19. Same VIN, same license plate, same scratches, same fuel level. Each claimed to have the real car on set, ready to shoot. At first, the studio thought it was a clerical mistake, but both units sent Polaroids within minutes. Identical cars, identical everything. The production manager ordered both drivers to head toward each other, meet halfway, and prove who had the copy. Neither car arrived. Hours later, a single General Lee Nairobi 19 was found parked at the Warner Brothers lot. The odometer reading combined the total mileage both cars should have driven. Inside were 2 registration papers, 2 sunglasses, 2 identical sets of keys. Chrysler engineers inspected it and found microscopic differences in the metal's grain structure, 2 molecular patterns fused into one. As one mechanic whispered, "It wasn't duplicated, it was merged." Number 1. The final message, we remember. When Warner Bros. Filmed the Dukes of Hazzard reunion movie in 1997, they used the last surviving General Lee, car Thrader 21. That's when the messages began. Words appeared in the dust coating its surface, not written by hand, but forming themselves as crew watched. At first, it read simple phrases, help, trapped, then came 309 souls. The number matched the total cars destroyed during the show's run. The next morning, new words appeared on the windshield. We are the General Lee now. Engineers detected strange electromagnetic pulses around the car, as if hundreds of signals overlapped. Audio recorders picked up whispers that, when enhanced, revealed voices of every stunt driver who had ever crashed a General Lee. That night, every orange car on the Warner Brothers lot started simultaneously, idled for 3 minutes, then fell silent. By dawn, Nairobi 321 was gone, crushed and melted, or so the studio claimed. Yet collectors across the South report finding dusty messages etched on old chargers. Always the same. We remember. Before we uncover the strangest truth of all, if you've made it this far, it means you share the same curiosity that keeps legends alive. So hit that subscribe button and tell us which of these 20 mysteries haunted you the most, because this story isn't over yet. In the end, the General Lee was never just a car. It was a paradox on wheels, half machine, half memory. Behind every jump, every crash, every echo of that Dixie horn was a piece of someone's soul, welded into steel and painted in rebellion. Over 309 cars were sacrificed to create television magic. Each one soared for a few seconds of glory, only to end twisted and broken in the dirt. But perhaps, in some strange way, those moments of destruction became something more. A collective consciousness bound together through fire, gasoline, and human obsession. Maybe that's why the legend refuses to die. Maybe that's why people still claim to hear the horn at night in the hills of Georgia or see orange flickers racing through the mist, because somewhere between machine and myth, the General Lee still roars. And the next time you hear that tune, remember, it's not just a sound from television's past. It's a reminder of everything Hollywood tried to bury and everything that refuses to stay buried.